What is up? What is up? What is up? We got a special guest today. I've been trying to get this interview set up for like 2 months. Yeah, I've been trying to get this interview set up for like 2 months. We got an expert with certain things when it comes to credit, and I think you guys will like this one, man. It's one of the ones where you got to kind of get your notepad out a little bit. You got to get your notepad out a little bit. Who we got in here? Oh yeah, I know Chad and Eric is in the building. I see Bobby in there. What is going on, brothers? Woodsy in the building. Hey, Woodsy is going to be on the next episode of Unfiltered this Friday. So make sure y'all put that in your calendar. Woodsy is going to be on the next episode of Unfiltered. I know this is an unconventional one right here because I don't usually go on Monday, but you know how it is. It is what it is, man. Sometimes I have to get the guests when they're available. So she was available today, so we got to get it going. What y'all got going on? Y'all know how we do it. Hold off, get a couple people in here. I'm going to bring the guest in. She getting situated in the back, and we're going to get right to it. Turn this monitor off. David's in the building. My brother. Jay is in the building. Salute to y'all. But man, you know what? I can't hold off for too long. I got to hurry up. I got to get her in the building. I can't keep her waiting back there for so long. We got a lot to talk about. This shouldn't take no more than about an hour. If it go over a little bit, then pardon us. But yeah, let's get it popping. What is up, team? It's your boy Sledge from the SledgeInc team, back with another episode of Unfiltered 20 Questions with Sledge. And today's guest is a Navy Federal Credit Union expert, a bilingual content creator. She has a free credit mentorship, and she is the newest member of the community. It is Jackie Lavielle. How you doing, Jackie?
Good.
How you like that introduction?
I love that you did a good job on my last name as well.
It sounds like freaking.
Is that me? No, is that?
I gotta check that. That might be my iPhone. I don't ain't no storm coming this way.
Oh, you are next to that storm. I think there's a storm that's going to hit by Tampa or something.
Man, I don't know what that was.
It was an Amber Alert. I just got it on my phone as well.
Did you really? Okay. All right, cool. So the way 20 Questions with Sledge work is I'm going to ask you some questions. Some going to be credit related, some not so much. Yep. The whole goal is for the viewers to get to know you, and that's pretty much it. But before we get into it, can you go ahead and just introduce yourself?
So you guys know me. My name is Jackie. Right now I'm running 2 channels. I'm running my Spanish channel, which is called Conecto de Crédito, and I have my English channel, which I just started in April. It's called Credit Connect. I also have right now a free school group that you guys can get in for free. I'm starting to upload the free templates for you to do your own credit repair. And I am going to provide a lot of information. Like I was telling Slade, I worked for 22 years. And what I do is I basically do funding for patients. I work in a dental office that has 13 providers and like 25 operatories. And I work with different specialists, and I finance patients up to $70,000 for their credit work, for their dental work, full reconstruction. So I know a lot about credit, and I know a lot of how you should fill out those applications, how you should set up your credit profile, what are the banks looking for, and what can you do if you get denied, or, if you have a freeze, the best way to unfreeze it 24 hours before. So I know a lot of the ways that you can basically set yourself up to win or to get approved when you're trying to get a credit product. That's a little bit of information.
All right. So if you're ready to get into it, we go right into it.
Let's go.
Today we're going to do something we've never done before. We're going to start off with something from somebody from the chat. Jay says, "Hi, Jackie. Can you share some funding secrets, please?"
Well, let me tell you, a lot of the secrets right now, I'm going to tell you, they're very hard to get in. Everything has changed. Definitely, it's been a game changer with everything that's been going on with the economy. And what I am seeing, I work with Synchrony Bank for many years. They used to be General Electric, so they have everybody's credit. And what I've seen with them, that a lot of people were coming in and had maybe $25,000. And when they come in and they try to use that card again, it's being slashed. Funding secrets, what I can tell you right now of the ones I know that you can still probably get in is, let's start with PNC. PNC is one that it's known. Yes, if you apply for PNC, you can probably apply for a credit card the same day, and you can apply even for the BLOC the same day. But by the bank relationships manager, he did tell me to try to season it at least 3 to 6 months. That is with PNC. Also with Chase Business credit cards. A lot of people say that whenever you have a UCC filing or you're maxed out on your credit, Chase is not going to give you any more credit limits or is not going to give you a BLOC. Well, actually, I have a client that's a friend of mine that got a $50,000 BLOC having a UCC filing, and also got his credit card increased having a high utilization. So it's really hard to kind of pinpoint and to kind of say, this works for you or this might not work for me, because right now the banks and the institutions, they're all over the place. What might work for me might not work for you, or might work for somebody else. So it's kind of difficult to say it. A lot of the banks right now, I can tell you, even if they say no docs, you might have to provide something. Truist Bank, a lot of people were going crazy with Truist Bank.
Right.
Another friend of mine was just telling me this week, he went in and they told him that he did not have to provide any documentation. I think he got approved for $50,000, but when he went to sign the application, guess what? They want the IRS, I think it's the 4506.
Right, 4506.
Yep. So yeah, they didn't ask him for documentation. They told him he didn't have to provide it. But guess what? They were going to request it directly from the IRS. So what I would tell you right now, I don't have any little secrets right now like that. I can tell you that every bank is different, and what worked 6 months ago is not working right now. It all depends where your credit profile is and what you're trying to achieve. I can tell you with any institution, relationship is the key.
For sure.
Because I've seen it. I've seen it with Chase. Like I said, that friend of mine saw it. Why? Because he's been with Chase, for a number of years, and they went off his relationship, not off that he had a UCC filing, not off that he had high utilization on the credit card. They still increased it. So a lot of us are saying, you know what, lower your utilization. You have to be under 10%. If not, you're not going to get a credit line increase. And he's a perfect example that, yeah, you can get a credit line increase, but you have to have the relationship with them.
Yeah.
Like I said, Truist was one that everybody was getting loans, not showing documentation. And right now they can tell you, yeah, come in, we're going to give it to you. Even a BLOC for $50,000. If he didn't realize, well, he did realize that he still had the documentation. He went through it, but he had to provide, he had to sign that document. And I would always tell you guys, be careful, because a lot of us out here, we get sometimes very creative, and I've gotten very creative as well. But right now the banks are doing their due diligence and they're checking a little bit more. So anything can come back and, nip you in the butt. So just be careful how creative we all get in the credit space.
For sure. Everybody's situation is different. So
Yep.
You know, you can have the same credit score.
Uh,
Your credit report still probably different. You know, so
yep.
everybody's situation is different.
And I've seen that where people have basically two people are at 800. Their credit profile is excellent. One applies, the other one applies, gets approved, and the other applies, and the application jumped for some reason. We don't
Right.
know. That's why I always tell everybody whenever you're going to apply for anything, make sure that you check your credit first, either on the personal side or on the business side. And something that I want to say is I did last week or 2 weeks ago, I did a PowerPoint that I gave a lecture, and I didn't know this. Everybody always talks about that, on the business side, the credit utilization doesn't count and all this. Well, guess what? When I went into my experience on the business side, I realized that my utilization was at 30%.
Yeah.
30% on the business side is already considered anything above 30% on the business side is considered that your business could be at risk. And a lot of people as well don't understand that when you are applying for credit cards, when you're applying on the personal side, if you get approved for a credit card that has $50,000, that's what's going to be reported. But on the business side, if you get approved for $50,000, if you only use $25,000 and the next month you just pay $2,000, that's going to report as 100% utilization and that your credit line is only $25,000. And I didn't know this, and I know a lot about credit. The only way on the business side and on the commercial side that you can see that you got approved for $50,000 is if you max out that business credit card and then you pay it back off.
Right.
That's how it's going to show that credit limit on the business side. And I just remember that, and a lot of people don't understand that. And then they're like, hey, I got denied on the business side. Well, guess what? It's already showing you have several cards, and it is showing that you're maxed out. You haven't paid anything down. So that's really important when you're trying to go into for funding, is one, to check your credit on the personal side and on the business side. Check where you're at, see if everything is reporting uniform across the board. Even your name, it has to be one name, one address, one employment. All that makes 100%. It might not get you denied, but it can make the credit card, the algorithm jump, and then they might want more information. So just remember that when you guys are applying.
Right. You know what? A lot of creators get in front of these cameras and they tell you about, applying for business credit, or not having businesses and all of that, but
Yeah,
they don't even understand how business credit works. They just know that you can get applied for a business credit card. So
100%.
yeah, you need to know how business credit works,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, what about when you actually need to use it? Yeah, a lot of people know they're not thinking about it. They're thinking about hiding their personal credit on the business side, but they're
Yep.
not thinking about when they have to use that business credit for an actual business or something. So
Exactly. And yeah, there's some cards that you can hide the personal and you can hide the business. But sometimes when you transfer those personal to the business side, and then you want, like you're saying, then you're trying to apply for more business credit, all that money is showing that you owe it there. So
right,
you have to understand that that's really important. Also, when you're trying to get approved for the business side, your DMB, your NAV, everything has to report your experience. Everything has to report across the board correctly. Again, that's something that I saw one of my LLCs. I realized that my the SI code or the NCI code, was that the N, those codes where it says
oh
the
yeah,
high risk, the low
business
risk.
logo. Mm,
That's another thing. A lot of us, we get any name. We don't understand when we're applying for a business credit card, when it asks you the code. These are things that you need to research before you're applying. You can go to Chat GPT and put, this name or this code, is this considered high risk or low risk? And
right,
these are things that are going to help you on the business side, try to get approved. So I would tell you guys, do your homework. Don't listen to anybody on YouTube. Even what I tell you, I always tell you, do your due diligence and do your homework. because things change from one day to another, and maybe what works for me doesn't work for you. So I always tell everybody to do their homework before they apply for any credit product.
For sure, for sure.
Yep. Yep.
All right, now, what made you set up a camera or whatever you use to record and start making YouTube videos?
So what motivated me to do this was my patients. And unfortunately, um, a lot of people don't understand how credit works. So where I'm at here in Miami, most of my patients are Hispanic, Latinos, or African Americans. And what I've seen across the board is the Hispanic or the Latino comes in, they get credit, they max it out, they think it's like, they can buy everything, they become Mr. and Mrs. Flashy here in Miami, and they ruin their credit in less than 6 months. When they could have built that credit, they could have leveraged that credit, they could have had their own business, they could have had used 12 months interest free, they could have learned how to be creative and transfer the debt. And then on the African American, it's very sad when I see patients coming in and I'm offering them 24 months interest free because it looks like they had the money under the mattress, but
Right.
they're scared of credit. They don't want to get credit. They don't want to apply for credit. Imagine if I'm telling you your dental work is $2,000 and I can offer you 24 months interest free. And I tell them, put your money away, play with the bank's money. They still don't want to do it. So that's the number one thing that motivated me. I realized that there is a need for credit, for like a credit educator, basically on the Spanish side, English side, because I remember when I wanted to buy a car and I was 17 years old, and my mother said, "Oh, yeah, I got perfect credit." Mind you, I was born in the United States. I'm going to be 53 next month. So my parents have been here when I was 17 already, at least 20 years from Cuba. So we went to the car dealer, and guess what? My mom had no credit because she thought that paying everything cash that made you build credit. So, and these are things that nobody teaches you. I think right now in the schools, in the high schools, maybe even middle school, high school, middle school, colleges, they need to be teaching about credit, how credit works, and what are the best credit products out there, because a lot of people are going through school, they're finishing school, and they don't know anything about credit. And I'm a perfect example of that. My daughter is 30 years old. She graduated almost 3 years ago from dental school. She's a dentist, a doctor. Well, guess what? Not 3 months ago, she wanted to buy her first brand new car. She called me and she asked me if this was good to give 40 to buy the car cash because she had $40,000 put away. I was like, no way, you never do this. Car is the number one thing that depreciates. You can buy a house and give that money down, but you will never buy a car. You're going to give your down payment and you're going to finance it.
Right.
So imagine she came from a household that we use credit. Imagine kids that don't come from this household, what happens to them? They grow up and this is a vicious cycle. And this also affects why we are in so much debt and so much people, owe all this money. So definitely I think that's one of the reasons that inspire me is to help people out because I know there's a need for credit. Yeah.
Well, you know what? They never go teach it in school because they don't want us to know it.
No, they don't.
They don't want you. So we need people like you, on YouTube spreading this information because they want us to run up our credit and mess our credit up and, be in debt and owe these people money. So yeah, that's why we need people like you spreading the word on this.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've had friends of my daughter tell me, "Oh no, well, I got a school loan. They told me that's the first thing I should have gotten." And I told her no, because the first product that you should always get is a credit card. Why a credit card? Because the credit card is like the Energizer bunny. It keeps giving and giving and giving. That is the number one product that never stops.
Right.
If you pay it and you never close it, that credit card every 6 to 9 months, it's like it's giving you positive feedback on your credit. A school loan or a revolving loan or a car, once you close it, it's done. That trade line is lost. So it's really important for us to educate our kids and explain to them as well. If you have a child in your house that's 17 years old, I would tell you at least 6 months prior for them to turning 18 years old, put them on your credit if you have good credit. That way, when they turn 18 years old, they have a FICO score. It's very easy for them to have a 700 FICO score if you put them on your credit cards and you let them build credit. That way, they don't have to use your credit once they're 18 years old. You have to educate your kids and explain to them to be responsible, but as well, we need to help them out,
Right.
with all this information and give them a hand so they can do it the right way.
You know what? Make your kids authorized use on your card, but make sure that you teach them about
Credit
credit.
card. Make sure you got this in your hands.
Please, make sure that you teach them about credit. Don't just, well, I did the same thing with my kids. I had my daughter, well, not my oldest son, because I was messing up credit when he was born, but my youngest son and my daughter, I mean, they started off their credit history with like close to 760, starting up because I had them as authorized users on my cards. And I teach them, the right things to do. But we got another question for you.
Let's go.
From Jay again. Jay say Navy Fed sent him an email to apply for 0% home loan, no money down. He has an 823 FICO score. Wait a minute, 823 FICO, credit over 750. What else are they looking for to get him approved for 500 to 850? I can't help him with that one.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So even though that's a positive that you received from Navy Federal, but even though they sent you this information, remember they're still going to go and they want all the information. They're still going to want your bank statements. They're still going to check your credit, and they're going to go from A to Z. This is basically, this happens a lot. We get a lot of, through the mail, or, if you go to Credit Karma or you go to Experience, you've been approved, or you get this email. That's good. That is good towards you. That's going to help you, but it doesn't mean they're not going to check everything else. They're still going to check everything else, like if you're going for a mortgage with a company that you have not received this letter for. So just make sure to have all your ducks in a row, because now when you apply for a mortgage, with everything that's happened, they're a little bit more strict. So you want to make sure that you have that money, to show that your DTI, your debt to income. You want to make sure that you don't have high utilization. You want to make sure that you are depositing that money in a Navy Federal, that it shows that you can afford a mortgage, whatever your mortgage is. When you're looking at a mortgage of over 500,000 right now, you're probably, anywhere between, I would say, above $3,000 to probably $6,000, anywhere that range, depending the insurance and the interest wherever you're at. So, I mean, that's definitely a good sign, but they're going to ask you for everything else, probably even your DNA. But that is a good sign. But I would tell you to have everything, all your ducks in rows, at least 3 to 6 months prior, and make sure that whatever account you have with Navy Federal, it's a good standings, and they see that you do have money left over there every month, and that you can afford a mortgage. Because even though you got that email, that doesn't, it helps you, but that's not a sure thing. They're still going to check everything else. Yes.
Now, I have a good friend that's also a credit card creator named Joe Barreto. He's in the chat. He's also a bilingual. He's also a bilingual creator who has he doesn't have a Spanish channel, but he has some videos in Spanish.
Awesome.
His channel is called The Credit Card Connection.
Oh, cool.
What made you name your channel The Credit Connector for YouTube?
The Credit Connect. So I wanted to take a name that I can translate English and Spanish. that it would be the same name. I also had to check for a name that was not taken here in Florida with some biz. So
Right.
that's right, exactly. So I did a couple of names back and forth, and then Conecto de Crédito and Credit Connect. I basically, it was the same translation, so that's why I named it that. So it was something I liked. I wanted, that I can help people with the credit, but like I said, I had to see something that I can do the translation and it was still available in Sunbiz. Um, there's something that I wanted to answer. Somebody that I saw there. So she asked, how early? You don't have to put your kids on when they're 15. If you just do it 6 months prior to their 18, that's more than enough. I mean, if you want to put them a little bit before because you want to give them a credit card, that's fine. I don't like to do it that early because I get scared that if we ever have a hiccup with our credit, that way there's no reflection. Yes.
That's true. I know Chase. I don't think Chase has a limit. I think you can put them on when they're born for whatever reason. But I think most cars are 13.
13.
I think 13 is for most, but Chase is like they don't care. As strict as they are with their credit cards, they're
Yeah,
pretty loose with authorized users for
yeah,
whatever reason.
they are strict.
Now, you do a variety of financial topics.
Yes.
Which one is your favorite and why?
So of when I talk about finance, I think my favorite really is understanding what the lenders or the credit cards look when you're trying to fill out an application because I've seen all the hiccups. A lot of people when they're trying to fill out an application, let's say that yesterday you started a new job or you moved,
Right.
and people do the mistake of writing that in the application. And what happens is that just makes you look messy, and that can make the algorithm jump. So I always tell people, and this is something that I love to educate people how to fill out any credit product is whenever you're filling out a credit card, if you just moved recently and you really haven't changed it in the CRAs, just put your old address or put your old employment. Unless you were making $10,000 and right now you're making $100,000, you know what I mean? Just use the latest one you have, whatever is showing in the credit bureaus. And then the only thing you have to do is pick up the phone and call Chase or Bank of America. Hey, I just got approved, but you know what? I realized that I put the old address, and right away they're going to change it for you. So this to me is really important because I've seen so many people with hiccups. Just as well, when we all have a freeze in our credit, I've seen so many people that come and then they don't tell me that they have a freeze and then it jumps and they try to unfreeze it. And sometimes then, even though they get approved, Synchrony tells them, no, you have to wait to get the card in your hand before you can use it. They don't even give me the account number because a lot of times they'll give me the account number. So just knowing and understanding these little things that can give you hiccups, I definitely love to explain it. I always tell people unfreeze 24 hours prior. Also, check your credit and go in and see how many names you have and clean it up. Clean all your personal information. That's one of the templates that I'm creating now is a template where you can just send it and you can clean up your personal information. I myself, Jackie M. Lavielle, Jacqueline M. Lavielle. There's names that I don't even know. And I'm going to tell you why that happens. I am guilty of that. When I fill out my patient's applications, guess what? Sometimes these nails, they hit a different key. And I myself sometimes make an error. Well, once I make that error, I cannot call them and change it. The person has to call them because once they're approved, I have no saying. It's between the credit card holder and the person. So it's really important that when you're filling out an application, one, you're very careful because anytime you have all those other names and stuff, if you ever go into collections, that's how they can link different collections to your name. having all those different names. So that can hurt you as well if you defaulted on your credit card. So always try to have one name. Some of us have 2 and 3 middle names. And then when we're applying for credit cards, we always use a different name. No, 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 no. If you have Jose Maria Diaz, Sanchez, just make sure and say, you know what, I'm going to use whatever's on my license, or this is the way I'm going to apply, or this, and always use that name, because you hurt yourself and you don't even realize you're doing it. So for me, like I said, just understanding the credit and going in there and just cleaning up all that information and having it correctly, that's a big thing for me when it has to do with credit. Because I'm going to give you an example. I preach all this. Last week, I have the Chase Inc. My 12 months is going now to expire in September. So I'm like, okay, let me go apply for another Chase Business and get another 12 months interest. I didn't unfreeze my credit. So what happened? I did it. I was in a hurry. I didn't, practice what I preach. What happened? I went into a manual review. That's what happened, because I had to unfreeze it, call back. And when I called back, I had a Chase banker talk to me. My first credit card on the business side with this LLC, I got $55,000. You know how much I was approved for this one? 16.
Wow.
This is a 13-year-old LLC. Debt reports on DMB and NAV and everything over $450,000 in revenue. What was the difference? It went into a manual review.
Right.
So that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. Sometimes those little hiccups can make you get a lower credit card limit. And if you do get a lower credit card limit, I always tell the client, always call the reconsideration line before even trying to activate it, and see if they can increase it, which that's definitely what I'm going to do now. I just received the card, because even though it showed me it was approved, it didn't show me the amount on the portal. So today I got the card, and I'm going to call back and see what was the hiccup. But just, when you're ready to apply for a credit card, take your time, do it correctly. Also, when you go to a car dealer, I work with several banks, but I work with one bank that is just like the car dealer. When I put the patient's information or the client's information, what happens? At least it goes to 7 to 10 banks. And imagine going 7 to 10 banks with the wrong name or the wrong address. So you have to be on top of your information. It doesn't matter where you go, even if there's a person doing the credit for you. I would tell you, always be careful. Look at what they were doing, and always tell them, before you hit the submit button, let me take a look at my application. Let me see if it was done correctly. Because at the end of the day, nobody cares. It's on you. It's your responsibility. Because once there's information in the CRAs, remember, they make money by selling your information. So the more information they have, the more addresses, the more names, they're going to make more money. So it's up to you to clean it out and maintain it just, with the information correctly, because they don't care. They're just there to make their money.
So make money.
Yeah.
You know what I had to do? I had to get a name off of my credit report, because I've had at this point, I've had 20 American Express cards. My middle initial is M. For whatever reason, on my Hilton Aspire card, they put D, and that name showed up on my credit report and all these things. But I mean, it's easy to get it off. Yeah. But the thing is, you just have to know to do it.
No, it's tedious and it takes time. That's what it is. And just to give you guys,
a lot of people worry about.
Exactly. And just to give you guys, if you guys are ever trying to clean your profile and they're giving you a hard time, this is a little secret. Always tell them that you think that your credit is a mixed merge account, because this happens sometimes when you have a family member. When you use those words, they're going to take charge and clean it out as soon as possible, because they don't want to get in trouble. So always say that, I think that, my credit could be a mixed merge account. So just remember those names, mixed merge accounts. Yeah.
You got to write that down.
Right.
You got to write that one down. Now you mentioned about having your credit froze. Why do you keep your credit frozen?
I keep my credit frozen because I have AT&T and my information is out there. So if you guys research and look for your information, you might find your name, your social, and your passwords as well.
Right.
Because even my office that we are in, like all the southeast of the United States, we've been hacked and all the patients' informations are out there. So I'm probably 99.9 that you guys have given your information somewhere, a hospital, a cell phone, somewhere, and that has been leaked.
Right.
So that's another thing you guys can go out there and check.
Yeah, I keep mine. I keep mine frozen too. I just wanted you to, put that information out there.
Yeah, it's very important. That's the only thing that you can do to protect yourself. There's really nothing else you can do once your information is out there.
Right. And if for anybody that don't know, you can unlock your credit and then just refreeze it back, like right after you finish doing whatever you're doing.
Yep, it takes seconds.
Take seconds.
Yep. 100%.
At the end of your video, you speak about a free mentorship. Can you tell the audience a little about this?
Yes. So that is my school group, which is SKOOL. It's Credit Connect. I don't know if it's under Credit Connect or Conecto de Crédito, but I always put the link in my videos. That is a free mentorship that I'm going to start going live doing classes. I'm uploading right now the templates. And what I want to build is a community there where everybody goes in and puts their data points. And that's way we can learn. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. But if we all put our data points together and our information, we can learn from from each other. And that way we'll know the latest secrets, hacks, information, and funding place. That's basically. And, I want to start going live. I'm thinking about a date. It's going to be bilingual right now. Like I'll have an English day and I'll have a Spanish day. Whatever I post in there, I always post it in English and I always post it in Spanish. So if you guys need any templates and want to do your own credit repair, you can find them there because I'm starting to upload them there. I don't do repair.
That's awesome. We have a lot of Spanish speaking and bilingual audience members. So
That's awesome.
definitely. And definitely, I put your channel in the description of this video. So everybody, please make sure that y'all subscribe to Jackie. Like even right now, y'all can don't stop watching the video. Just open up another browser and subscribe to Jackie right now.
And if you don't watch them, at least let them run.
Right, exactly. At least let it run. Now, you made a video titled Top Credit Unions 2024. Here's why. The number one ranked credit union was Navy Federal, and you agreed with the consensus of what this website was saying. Can you tell the viewers why you think that Navy Federal is the number one or the top rated credit union?
Yeah. So Navy Federal, when you kind of do an analysis about them, they have so many shareholders. And when you compare them to other credit unions, they are more likely to give you credit products with a lower credit score, relationship based, which I love that because they're really not there for the money. They're there to help you out. Not everybody can get into Navy Federal, obviously, even though there's little tricks here and there. But definitely I've seen that of all the credit unions out there, they're basically their credit cards, they're not the best for points. Okay, I'm going to say that. But for the amount, they give you, come on, they have one credit card that if your credit is top notch, $80,000. Okay. There's not really another credit card that can top that, even though that now their interest has changed a little bit because it's going to be on a daily base compound, they're still under, a regular credit card.
Right.
And you could have three credit cards on the personal, and if you have a business and you get that $25,000 on the business side, imagine that's $105,000. Also, you have the opportunity, if you have a Visa or a MasterCard, to liquidate those credit cards. If you get the Go Plus, I think it is the Go prepaid card.
Right.
You can get up, I think it's 5 or 6 cards of those, and you can up to $600 a day fill them. Imagine you can liquidate $10,000 on a monthly base without having to pay all those high interests.
Right.
So that's
And no cash
definitely,
advance fee.
that's definitely a plus. Also, they're open 24/7 on the personal. If you lose your debit card, not even Bank of America does that. You have to wait. You can go to any Navy Federal credit union. They'll give you one right away. They have so many perks that, to me, I think they're really such a good institution that it's worth trying to get in. Like I said, I've seen people, get a credit card, a $10,000 credit card with under 600 credit score. And that I've never seen before, to be
Yeah.
honest. Because even when you're at 580, you don't even get approved for $500.
Right.
So I would tell you, if you guys can get in, try to go in with Navy Federal. Yes, they have gotten a little bit stricter. And I would tell you, even if you call them and you give them information of your grandfather or so and so, and you got in, it doesn't mean that they're not going to verify it. They could
Oh,
verify it. And if you get blacklisted from Navy Federal, it would definitely be very hard to get back in. Also, when you have a card with Navy Federal, if you're trying to do any of the manufacturer spending or anything like that, be very careful. I mean, I don't preach to anybody, but I would tell you be very careful, because if they flag you, it's going to be very hard to get out of that as well. Yep, exactly. So Navy Federal, like I said, is super good. It's for the cars. Like I said, it's not, if you want to get a card to travel, yeah, some other cards give you perks, but that's not really. But just if you're trying to get those cards because you want those high limits and you want everything else they offer, all the other credit products they offer. Just like if you have a thin, profile, a thin credit profile, they're awesome for the pledge loan hack. Because this is a way that you can build a trade line without having to pay anybody, which there's a lot of people out there charging 500 to like $3,000 to offer you a trade line. And
okay.
they offer you a trade line only for 6 months. And then, they take it away and you lose that trade line. So imagine using Navy Federal, doing the pledge loan hack. That's your own trade line, and you can do this and try to get 60 months. So you're creating a trade line up to 60 months, and they give you the money back as soon as you pay for it. So you pay 90 or 99% back, depending what you're playing. A lot of people, I personally like, when you're doing the pledge loan hack, to wait 30 days for it to hit your credit. Some people, once they do it, they like to pay it off 3 to 5 days after, because they're in a funding spree. So they
Right.
don't want the 10, the 20,000 or whatever. I've seen somebody up to $100,000 get a pledge loan like hack. They don't want it to hit their credit. So it depends, what is your credit journey. If you're if you're just a thin maximizer, or if you're a real maximizer and you're going out for some real funding. But definitely Navy Federal, I would tell you, is the number one credit union, because besides it, it's just everything they offer to help the consumer.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what? For anybody that don't know what a pledge loan is, it's basically just a secure loan that you secure with your own money.
Yep.
You open up the loan, and that the hack that she's talking about is you pay 90 to 99% off of it, and on your credit report, it's showing this big loan, and that you paid off 90% of this whatever you put down on it. So, and you just paying it with your own money.
Yep.
So
A
it's,
hundred
it's a
percent.
great way to build credit, especially for people that don't have installment loans. You don't have an installment loan, you need a credit mix. It's an easy and great way to do it, and it will grow your credit. There's guaranteed. Like it's guaranteed.
Yeah. And a lot of people have questions on this. So if you're a person that you have, when you're building credit, you should have at least one short-term installment, which is 36 months and less, and one long-term installment, which is like a car loan, 60 months, or a home loan or something like that. If you have a good credit profile, a strong credit profile, you don't need to do this. Okay.
Right.
You don't need to do this. This is for people that their credit is thin and they want to build it out. So this is a question I get all the time at the pledge loan. Should I do 5 pledge loans of $1,000 each? No. Get the $5,000 to do one pledge loan.
Right.
And put the $5,000 in there. You don't want to have so many pledge loans or loans, because those are loans that, you know, they're not revolving. They're installment loans. So what happens is, if you have too much of them, then if your debt to income is high, they're going to be like, well, this person cannot afford any more credit products. So that's what I understand. Do your homework, guys. Check out the videos, but always do your homework. Confirm where you're listening and what people are talking about before you go out there and go crazy, applying for credit. It's very important.
Now, Navy Federal got 6 unsecured personal cards. What are your top 3?
Okay, so obviously the flagship card, we all know that one because it goes to $80,000. It all depends. Why? If you want to transfer a balance, then you might go for the platinum card.
Right.
Okay. If you're trying to get the more rewards card as well, you can also balance transfer. If you want to go for the Navy Federal, the cash rewards, where I had to write it down because there's so many of them, I get confused. So the cash reward is the best one if you want the cash back, because it's immediate. And then also, some people think that when they go in there and they only get approved for the, I think it's the N rewards.
The N rewards is the secured card.
The secure card. Listen, that's the only one you got approved. Go for it.
Right.
And use it and pay it off. And you know what? You'll probably graduate after 6 months. And that's a good thing. A lot of secure cards don't graduate. If you're trying to build credit or repair your credit, then go for that card because it's secure and it does graduate. And if you pay it on time, it will graduate after 6 months. And you'll get your money and you will get approved for another card.
Yeah. And you know what? There's one key to the N reward that nobody ever talks about. And I have a friend that proved his point to me. He got the N rewards and he never used it. So guess what? It never graduated. Yeah, when he called him, they told him that he had to use it. So he had to use it for another 6 months. So it took him a year to graduate. But you're not going to find many cards. I think Discover and Navy Federal are the only ones that graduate at 7 months, pretty much guaranteed, as long as you're responsible with those cards.
Exactly. And just piggyback on what you just said, anytime you have a credit card and you don't use it and 6 months goes by, what happens? You get flagged for that card.
Right.
So you want to make sure that every card you have, you want to use it at least every 6 months or put a subscription. Remember, these credit cards keep giving and giving and giving. When you're using them, it's like it counts. It's like it counts towards you. So you don't want to use it, but get a credit card and just stick it in your drawer. It counts against you. They can lower the credit limit or they can close it for you. So you want to make sure to use it. Also, guys, when you're going in and you're trying to get a credit line increase, this is with Navy Federal or any credit card. Don't try to get a credit line increase on a credit card that's maxed out and that you haven't used for a long time and you've been paying just the minimum. You want to try 3 months prior. You want to try to do at least 7 to 10 transactions on those credit cards. You want to use them and pay them off. Use them and pay them off. because that way the credit card knows, hey, this person is using the $5,000. Let's go ahead and give them that credit line increase. So this
Right.
is really important. These are little tricks that nobody tells you, but this is the way you do it. Also, when you guys are ready to go for funding, open a new credit card, buy a house, a mortgage, buy a car, I would tell you 6 months prior, do not close any of your credit cards. I've closed in credit cards because my profile is very strong at this point, but never do this 6 months prior. Why? Because it only brings your credit down a couple of points, but it can also bring the time down, the history, which is really important. So if you want to close a credit card and you're about to buy a car, you're going for funding, wait until you do your sequence and then close that card. But don't do it before that. Do it, 6 months prior to that.
Now, tell the people a couple things about Navy Federal that the average person wouldn't know.
So the average person wouldn't know that when you open a checking account in Navy Federal, and I would tell you if you're trying to build a relationship with Navy Federal, one of the things that helps you is to increase your regular checking to a flagship checking. Yes, you do have to have a minimum of $1,500 there. If not, they're going to charge you $10 a month. But I've heard that this could be the number one thing that helps you build the internal score with Navy Federal. So that would be the flagship checking account. Also, remember that Navy Federal, a lot of people don't know this, they do have an internal score. The internal score goes from 100 to 450. You always want to stay above 250. How do we know our internal score? Unfortunately, the only way to know this if you apply for a credit product, if you get approved or denied, and when you receive the letter, that's where it's going to tell you where your internal score is. Sometimes I've never seen it, and none of my friends have done it, have experiences. Sometimes they say that if you call Navy Federal, you might end up speaking to somebody that does know what they're talking about and can tell you what your internal score is. I'm not sure 100%. Also, when you've been with Navy Federal over 25 years, they do have a different promotion for 25 to 50 years. Your credit cards, you're going to pay less for your interest. You're going to get better cash reward back, points, and all this. But these are for people that have had relationships with Navy Federal over 25 years.
Wow.
Also with Navy Federal, the other thing I want to tell you with them is, God, I just lost my thought. Let me breathe so I can get it back. So beside the 25 years with the Navy Federal, you can call them. You have to have the credit, I think the credit product at least 6 months. Let's say right now, for some reason, you're in a ditch and you cannot make a payment. You can call them and they can extend that payment. If you have to do it between a credit card or an installment loan, I would tell you to do it on the installment loan. Okay. This is not something that you want to do all the time, but if you're ever, for some reason you lost your job or whatever, and you couldn't make that payment, this is something that can be done. Also with Navy Federal, once you have a credit card and it's been over a year, you can call them and see if they can negotiate with them to bring the APR down. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't, but you can always try. Remember, whenever you're trying to get in with Navy Federal and you're calling them, you always want to be nice to them. You don't want to sound, the nicer you are, you're going to get more in life. And this is with everything. Life is like a Monopoly game. You have to know how to play it. Credit is the same thing. You have to know how to play it. When you're playing with your credit, you want to play credit like you're playing chess, not checkers. You want to study the opponent before you go in and you do your next move. So whatever institution you're trying to get in, you want to study it before. With Navy Federal, I can tell you that I've seen a lot of people, like I talked about, and this is something that they don't advertise or you don't know it, but I've seen a lot of people get credit cards, $5,000, even $10,000 with a pretty low credit with a pretty low score. And this is basically relationship based. I know a lot of people say relationship based with Chase, relationship based with Navy Federal. I can tell you with Chase, my business credit card of $55,000, I had no relationship with Chase and I got it. That probably wouldn't work with Navy Federal. With Navy Federal, you definitely have to build a relationship. Also, with them, they do have a lot of certificates that you can get. They do have a certificate. I don't remember right now the name, but I think it starts at $25, $50, and it goes up to 12 months to 24. And you can get certain of those certificates, and that's another way to build the relationship with them. Remember, with Navy Federal, the more products you get, the more invested that they see that you're into them. If you have direct deposit with them and all that, you're invested in them. Don't try to open a Navy Federal checking account, and just put the $5 and forget about it and try to get all the products. Yeah, you're probably going to get good credit cards if you have a good profile. But if you really want to get the best products with Navy Federal, use them while you're trying to get the best products. Use them as your main, institution. That's really important because they really are relationship based. So that's something that I would tell you about Navy Federal. For people that have good credit, still invest in Navy Federal. Let them see that you're invested, because you know what? Today it might be a credit card. Tomorrow might be, a home equity line. The next day it might be several cars or a mortgage, and they're gonna go above and beyond for you if they've seen that you have been invested in them for a long time. Also, remember, with Navy Federal and with any institution, the checking account, you could get, let's say you overdraft, but try not to use that, because that's a question I had. Well, I put like $40,000 every month in my bank account, but I overdraft, but I have the overdraft protection. Guess what, guys? They can still see that you overdrafted.
Right.
If you can handle a checking account, what makes you think that you can handle a credit card, an $80,000 credit card? So, study your moves and just go slow, and that's something that I would tell you. I probably left out other information with Navy Federal.
Oh no, that's all good. You gave them enough. I hope they write it down, like I said. I'll handle this next question because I literally just did this maybe a few months back. The question is for me or Jackie. It says, is there a hack to transfer Navy Federal card balance from the Go Rewards to the flagship for one balance? You used to could just do it, but now the only way to transfer a balance, to do a credit reallocation, is to tell them that you want to do that, you have a balance transfer coming. So if you tell them you have you want to do a balance transfer to your flagship, they will let you move that money from one card to another. It's the only way. I tried it 3 other times, and they denied me. Actually, one of my subscribers told me about it, and I actually made a video about it and detailed every step of every communication. I told him I wanted to do a balance transfer, and the very next message, I didn't even call him. I sent a secure message. The very next message was telling me that I had to do the transfer in increments of 100, and that I could do it, and I did it from there. But yeah, tell them you want to do a balance transfer, they'll let you put that all on one card. And I had this; it was the same card actually. It was the Go Rewards, and I don't have the Go Rewards because I've transferred the entire balance and canceled it. So
that's awesome. Good.
Yeah. Let me see. Who's say? David say Navy Federal kept out the bag. Yeah, they can. They definitely can. I've been with Navy Federal for I think 4 years, and I'm maxed out at 80K. Yeah, I think for less than 4 years, I'm maxed out at 80K. 25 on the more rewards and 55 on the flagship.
Wow, that's awesome. I can see the chat. Actually, in the chat, I see one of my friends there, Shamori Baro.
They came over here for you.
That's right.
Hey, make sure y'all subscribe to the SledgeInc team channel too now.
Right, that's right.
All right, now let me see here. Oh, now a lot of people do a lot of little funny stuff because Navy Federal is so popular on YouTube. People do a lot of funny things with Navy Federal. Can you tell us about some things that can get your account shut down with Navy Federal?
So one of the first things that can get your account shut down is the manufacturer spending. Okay. If you think they don't know what you're doing, they do know. And you definitely don't want to do this with Navy Federal. Like I said, I'm not here to preach it to anybody, but you don't want to do this with Navy Federal. Something that I've seen as well shut down is having too many overdrafts. If you're playing around with your checking account, you're overdrafting. I saw somebody get kicked out of Navy Federal for this situation. Also with Navy Federal, if you stop paying your credit cards with Navy Federal is not one that you're going to be able to get back in. What I've heard, I've never experienced it, but once you're blacklisted, unless you pay all that money back, you're never going to get back into with Navy Federal. Also, a lot of people like to play the hack with the car, where they buy the car and they don't turn in the title. Well, Navy Federal, knows what's up, and they have requested a lot of titles. And guess what? When you can't provide that title, you can basically be in trouble with the law. So you need to be careful, and you could get kicked out of Navy Federal. So definitely, if you guys are trying to get a car, turn in the title. Don't play around with Navy Federal. This is definitely not the bank you want to play around with. If you need money and it's not really for a car, there's so many other institutions that you can do that with, or just get a personal loan or get a BLOC or do something. But don't do it with Navy Federal. It's not worth it, because even when you're down, Navy Federal is going to help you if you've been a loyal customer with them. So I would tell you to be very careful. Also with Navy Federal as well, with all the hacks to get in. I've heard a friend of mine had a friend that they actually called them after 6 months, and they requested more information, and they got kicked out because they had lied about the sibling that was in, I think, the Air Force or something, and they couldn't verify it. So they were there 6 months. Everything that they had already, gained with Navy Federal, because they were trying to go in for basically the top funding, they lost all that. So I would tell you, just be careful with Navy Federal. Make sure that you don't overdraft. Make sure you're paying your credit cards on time, and just try not to get blacklisted from them, because they're definitely not an institution to play around with. The same way they're good to you and they're good to their clients, if they realize that you're trying to, mess up with them or do something incorrectly, they're going to kick you out, because remember, we need them. They really don't need us. They have so many clients. Like if you look them up, I don't know how many clients they had by 2022, I think it was. So we really need more. We need them more than what they need us.
For sure.
So make sure. Yeah.
Biggest federal credit union in the United States. So
that's right, 100%. We're like little ants next to them. So we want to make sure once we're in there, we want to make sure to stay in there and keep eating from them.
All right, now outside of credit cards, because we talked about a lot of things, but would you recommend Navy Federal for auto loans and mortgages?
I really haven't had the pleasure to do any mortgage loans with them. I would probably tell you for the car loans, they're not that bad. But if you want to buy multiple cars and all that, I mean, there's other institutions that are probably, easier to do that, like Bank of America for the car loans. You might get more car loans, but they're not bad. I can't tell you 100%. I have not had any car loans with them. A lot of people do like Navy Federal for the car loans just because of the flexibility that they do give you the check.
Right.
And then you have more buying power when you go to the dealer and you're not going to get your credit ran all over. And when you tell the the salesperson, listen, I can only afford $300, and then they come back and they're like, hey, we can only get you approved, but it's $350. When you have that check, that's not going to be a play. You're going to say, this is what I have, this is what I'm looking for, and that's exactly what I want. Can you make it happen or not? So it's going to be all business.
Right.
So definitely you're going to have more leverage, and a lot of people like that of Navy Federal, that they do give you the check. They don't just transfer it to the buyer or to the seller.
Right.
With the mortgages, I don't know too much of the mortgages, but I've heard a lot of people say, again, that they are more flexible than the conventional loans out there, and that their APRs are still underneath. So I think it's a great institution, all the way around. And definitely, if you're trying to buy a car or you're trying to get a mortgage and you've been with them for many years, the process is probably going to be much easier than any other institution that you just started with. Because I've had years ago, like Regions Bank, like 10 years ago, and I was trying to get, like, I think it was a mortgage. I was trying to buy another house, an investment, and they asked me for so many documents. And I had been with them, like, that bank has changed from name to name years ago. I have been them since I was like in my 20s, early 20s. So I would tell you Navy Federal is probably not, if you compare them to any other institution, if you're trying to, a house, a mortgage or a car, I would probably tell you that if you've done everything correctly from them, you built that internal score, maybe your credit is not that perfect, I would probably tell you they're the most flexible to work with.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree. I've never had an auto loan or a mortgage with them, but the people that I talk to, I mean, they love them. So and low interest rates and things like that. So yeah, I can imagine. I mean, the credit cards have some of the lowest interest rates, in the business. So
I know. I heard people on YouTube saying, oh, we should close our credit cards. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Yes, it's going to change a little, but it's still under.
it's still right.
But they listen to all these people and they don't do their due diligence and they're going crazy. And some people probably close their credit cards. They probably call Navy Federal and were upset and everything. Listen, they don't have to have that APR to help us. Right. They can have whatever interest they have. Right. That's in their court. They can have whatever interest, and they can at any point change the interest, lower it or make it higher. We cannot get upset. We can choose not to have it anymore with them, but you have to think they're still under everybody else. So it's not in your best interest to close their credit card, guys.
Right.
Don't
and
go.
Then you close a credit card that may be $10, $15, $20, $30,000. Exactly. You're really hurting yourself,
Exactly. But that's what happens when people don't understand how credit works, and they don't do their due diligence. They don't do their homework. They just listen.
Right. Yeah. And that person they listening to is on YouTube just trying to get likes and views. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That person's not actually closing their account. They're just telling you to do it.
Yep. I always tell everybody, I'm here, but do your due diligence, do your homework.
For sure.
Things change from one moment to another. And I could have an experience with one of my cards, and maybe I talk about that, and maybe you have the completely different experience. It happens.
It happens.
Like I've heard people, no, I got pulled from Experian. No, but I got pulled from Equifax.
Right.
It all depends what part of the country you're at. Like it all depends.
Right.
We're here to do the best that we can and provide the information we can on an educational base.
Right.
We're not attorneys. This is not in stone. Things change from one moment to another. And we all have different experience with the credit cards and the lenders.
Now, got a question for you.
Yes.
What finance creators do you personally subscribe to? Just name like one or two, and what attracted you to those creators?
So my number one, which is my mentor, is the Radical Marketer. I belong to his mentorship. That's basically where I've learned all my credit. I'm actually as well part of his ambassador program. He's definitely the one that has helped me get into the credit space. I like to subscribe to channels and people that talk about credit that I think resonate with me, that I think are really there to help the public. And that's why um, when I met Slay and I started looking at his videos, and I said, he's really here to help the public. And that's something that attracts me. I'm not here to, join other people's YouTube that they start talking about something and the first thing, no, but I sell this or I sell that, or I can do this for you, or I can do that for you. I haven't made any money yet, and I would love to make the money organically, because I want to be able to provide and give everything that I can in my knowledge for free and help everybody. I might have to do something to make a little, because I have to live. Obviously, right now I still have my full-time job, which I in the funding business. But I like to see people that are really out here trying to help people and organically. That's something that attracted me to your channel, that I saw that in you. And for me, when I subscribed to my mentorship, which was the Radical Marketer, just from getting the information that I got for free on the his YouTube channel, I got $85,000 in business funding. That's why then I went ahead and I joined his mentorship. But because he gave me so much for free, that attracted me so much.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the Radical Marketer. Yeah, he do his thing. He drop a little bit of knowledge out there. Shout out to Radical Marketer for real. All right, now I done lost my place right here. Let me see here. I don't want to do that. What do you think is the best financial advice that someone has ever given you?
The best financial advice that somebody has ever given me, basically, to treat credit, I would tell you, like a chess game, to analyze it, to analyze every move. Why do I tell you that? I live in Miami. I'm Hispanic. Anybody that's on this chat that lives in Miami knows that Hispanic people like to be flashy. Unfortunately, it is what it is. And when I look at something for credit, I always think, is that going to give me money back? Is that going to help me? I don't just go out there and just do it. So I play credit. I play credit like a chess game. I analyze every move, what I'm going to do. Why do I need that card? Right now, I have a whole booklet of credit cards. And a lot of people ask me, well, why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? Because I like to have credit. I like to go and get credit when I don't need it to have it. But I don't go crazy because I don't want to get myself in trouble either. You understand? And credit is everything, unfortunately. If we don't have credit, unless we have a trust fund that, our parents or our grandparents left us, we can't buy a house. We probably can buy a car, but because I've had a lot of people tell me, well, I have good credit, I bought a car. Yeah, you bought a car with a very high interest, because if you don't pay for it, they repossess it.
Right.
You can't pay for your dental work because we cannot repossess your dental work. So credit is everything. You can have great vacations with credit. You can have everything you want if you understand how credit works and you leverage it the correct way. And just basically analyzing the credit and understanding it and seeing what your next move is going to be. I've used my credit cards and I've been up to here. So what do? I take the money out of my 401k, I pay the credit card off, and then I just pay the loan back because my 401k has a very low interest rate.
Right.
But I always have an exit strategy. It might not be the best one, but it works for me.
Right.
And I always tell you guys, you have to have an exit strategy, and be very careful when it comes to credit, because credit can make you or break you. And you can have everything one day and the next day you can lose everything, and
Right.
it's very hard. You can do it, anybody can rebuild. I don't know if you guys know the bang, the bang drink, bang, that
Hmm.
energy.
Yeah.
So that guy, he had like a contract with Pepsi or something, and then he started talking smack about Pepsi. You know the story, right? They sued him, but guess what? You can't mess around with Pepsi. They went into bankruptcy. So he went into bankruptcy. I don't know how many millions or what he went into bankruptcy. He finished bankruptcy court and then he went into another court and he got funded for I don't know how much millions. So just to tell you this, bankruptcy is not the end of the world.
Right.
you know, you can rebuild. And sometimes we go into bankruptcy and then we come out and we can have a better loan for the car because they know that we're not maxed out. But I do tell you to be very careful because nobody likes to be in that situation. It's very uncomfortable. You'll survive. It's not the end of the world, but nobody wants to be, hassled by the credit cards or just going through that. So just always be creative and understand with your credit and always think, what do I need this for? Is it going to help me? Because that's not free money. We got to pay it
Right.
back.
For sure.
Yep.
Now you did an excellent job of segueing into the next question. Now, we've all made financial mistakes.
Yep.
Like everybody's, man. Unless you just was born yesterday, we've all made some type of financial mistakes.
That's right.
What is a personal financial mistake that you've made, and what did you learn from it?
So in 2008, I maxed out all my credit cards and I was paying the minimum payment. So in 2008, I stopped paying all my credit cards. The house that I had bought several purchases, and that's when everything went downhill. So I had a house go into bankruptcy. I stopped paying all my credit cards in 2008. I never declared for bankruptcy because I only got sued by one credit card for $10,000 and I won against them in the court because I did my due diligence. I read and it was a debt buyer. They didn't have any information on me. So I went twice to court and they kept asking me questions and I said, I'm not here to answer your questions. You need to prove your case against me. I don't know if that's a play now, but it was back then.
Right.
And it was dismissed. So something that I've learned is be careful with your credit cards, be careful what you're using it. And like I said, always have an exit strategy because you can get into hot water. I did build my credit right away. The house that went into bankruptcy, which that house never even reported on my credit. And that's when a lot of people in 2008, that's when a lot of people were doing the loan modifications. So that house, I had it like 5 years without even paying for it. But then after a while, it did go into bankruptcy. It never reported on my credit. My mother put me on her credit and I built my credit like this. It didn't affect me. But 2024, I have perfect credit. I applied for the credit card from Barclays Bank. I was trying to get the aviator card, I think it was, to get the points, the travel points. Guess what? Came back. I'm sorry, we cannot approve you. You have delinquency. It's like, delinquency? What do you mean delinquency? Oh, everything is perfect. When I went back, I remember that I had a card for Barclays Bank for $10,000. I didn't pay. It wasn't the same credit card, so I didn't remember. So I am still blacklisted from that credit card. So I'm being transparent. So unfortunately, I can never have that credit card. And my mother has Frontier. I've been on my mother's credit card, I would say at least for 15, maybe more. So they know that I'm on my mom's credit card. Obviously, they know everything, and they still did not approve me.
Wow.
So
You know what? I heard it about Barclays though. I
yeah,
heard Barclays is unforgiving.
unforget.
Yeah,
So
I heard they were unforgiving.
this
Yeah,
is
and
something.
also they also denied me for having too many recent accounts when I
Yeah,
applied for the aviator card. They don't play.
yeah. So I wanted to get it on the personal side and the business side because I wanted to stack up those
Right,
mileage.
easy points. Right, exactly. Easy miles, brother.
That-
Right.
That's why I say credit is everything. You can have travel, you could have everything if you understand how credit works.
Yeah, that's
Everything.
true.
Yep.
Now, is there any popular finance information that you hear about that you think is misleading to viewers?
Let me see. Yeah, there's a lot. Um,
It is. You can just say one or two.
yeah. So the chase, the chase, that you can get up to like $150,000 with no docs. I see that still running. My uncle just got approved like 2 or 3 months ago for $125,000 BLOC with Chase, and he had to provide everything, even his DNA. So there's no way. I don't know if like I said, I had a friend that did get approved $50,000 with no docs, but has been a client relationship, and has a UCC filing. Also, a lot of people tell you about this bank and this institution, but nobody talks about you're going to get a UCC filing. Once you have a UCC filing, and for some of you guys that might not know what a UCC filing, the best way I describe it is like if you have your house, so your business is your home, and then you get a line of credit. The line of credit is the UCC filing. Your home mortgage, I'm sorry, your home mortgage is the UCC filing. So they're going to be in first place. So anything else comes after. So anytime you have a first mortgage, you know how you can get an equity unless you have that equity available. That's just like with your LLC or your corporation. Once you have a UCC filing, they're in first position. They're your home mortgage. So it's very hard. Not that you can't, but it's very hard to get BLOCs after. You can get credit cards. The
Right.
credit card I told you that I got the $55,000, I have a UCC filing because I got an SBA loan when COVID. That's another thing. Does anybody talk about people that had the EIDL? That's the one I have. If you have that, it's more than 100, I think. You definitely go back to your information. You have a UCC filing. A lot of people didn't talk about that.
Hmm.
So
I didn't even know that.
yeah, so I didn't know. Yeah, you can still get credit cards though, but it's very hard to get the BLOCs. Right now, I'm sitting on 60, 55, 60, $70,000 in credit card. And this is a different. A lot of people tell you about the BLOCs. You're going crazy and getting BLOCs. A lot of these BLOCs, as soon as you hit $100,000, you have a UCC filing. Once you got that UCC filing, it's game over for the
That's
BLOCs.
it. Right. Mhm.
But you can get credit cards,
Right.
really,
Right.
really, you don't have to provide information most of the time, and you don't get no UCC filing. So that is very misleading. People don't tell you that. You hear all these gurus, come, we can get you all this business funding, business funding. They don't tell you you're going to get a UCC filing.
Of course not.
I'm not against anybody if somebody's going to help you, but like credit cards, you probably can get the credit cards on your own. Yeah, the business lines of credit, they're a little bit more difficult.
Right.
But again, I got $70,000, no UCC filing, and I did it on my own. It's just understanding the process.
Understanding the process.
Yep, yep,
All right.
100%.
Now we go get into some fun questions for the viewers. Now, if there was a movie about you, who would play Jackie?
God, there was a movie about me. Who would play Jackie? Well, I'll tell you that I have a couple of movies, but there was no actor there that would play me. Uh, Gosh, I don't know. A hard one. So somebody that would play me.
Yep.
Hmm.
Anybody you want.
I'm sure I can think of somebody, but now I can't remember anybody. So I don't know. My favorite movies. I can tell you what my favorite movies are.
Okay, go ahead.
My favorite movies are. I got four of them: Saturday Night Fever, Grease,
You like
um,
John Travolta.
uh, Tony Montana. I like Tony Montana,
Of course.
and of course I'm Cuban. And what was the other movie that he did as well that was so good too? God, it was Al Pacino. He did another great movie. Can't remember the name now. It was a great actor.
Scarface. Scarface is one of my favorite movies. It's like in my top three.
Yeah, right. Who doesn't like Scarface?
Right.
They gotta do the second sequel. You know, if you go to YouTube, you think that there's a sequel coming out, and you know it's all created with AI,
Right. I hate when they do that.
and it looks exactly like it. I'm
It's
like,
so real.
really got
Right.
excited. So somebody said J Lo. Well, you know, in my sometimes in my comment, people call me the J Lo of credit.
Sophia Vargas.
Well,
Oh, girl.
well, now you say Sofia Vargas. So when I started doing my YouTube videos, I'll tell you something funny. I couldn't stand my accent. And that's when I noticed I had an accent. I'm like, how can I have an accent? I was born in California. I'm American. But then I was like, God, this is the Miami accent. But I'm like, well, you know, people love Sofia Vergara for her accent. So you know what? I'm just gonna go with it.
Hey, for real. For real. That's a good one. All right, let me see what we got here. If your channel had a mascot, what would it be and why?
So if my channel had a mascot, it would be a white stallion, a white stallion. And the
Why is
reason
that?
is, yeah, because the white stallion runs wild and free. And that's how I want my channel. I don't want any caps. I want to be able to talk about anything I want. Like I said, if I can, I want to give everything for free, all the information for free. And I just want it to be like the stallion, just running wild. And that's how I want to do everything. I want to run wild with my information and my content
That's awesome.
and help as many people as I can.
That's awesome. All right, now,
Yeah.
what is the most ridiculous thing that you ever bought and immediately regretted it, but you still didn't return it?
There's been a couple of those, but so okay. Well, I didn't return it, but let me see the ones I returned. Then I'll think about that one. A timeshare. I bought a timeshare one time, and I returned it the same night. Buyer's remorse. Um, Something that I've okay. So this one, you guys are gonna get a crack up. So I bought a hairpiece. I bought a long hairpiece because I'm like, I gotta look professional for my YouTube channel. Like, you know, I want to create my brand, and sometimes I'm tired, and then, you know, I'll come out with curly hair, or I just come out like not looking professional. So I bought a hairpiece and I put it on. But then when I put it on, I'm like, I'm not wearing that. Forget it. I'm just gonna go with my usual hair. I'll have to look
All right.
professional in this hair. So I didn't return it. It was like a one of the long hairs. I'm like, forget it. I'm not doing that. Too old already for that.
That was it. Let me see. All right. What's one thing that you splurge on, but you would tell somebody else to save their money on doing it?
There's a couple of things. So, hmm, let me tell you. Sometimes I overdo it. I know I'm pretty responsible, to be honest, but sometimes I would tell you, like, sometimes I'll go on trips, and then once I'm on the trip, I start eating here, there, and I become a little bit reckless. I'm not a person, I like nice stuff, but it hurts me. Like, I've always wanted to have a Louis Vuitton purse, and I could afford it on credit.
Right.
But it's to pay $5,000 and then finance that, and then and pay every month. And I'm the type of person like I'll take off my watch, whatever, and I just throw everything everywhere. So it's not like I'm gonna take care of it either. I'm just gonna throw the purse. It's gonna get dirty. So I rather go to TJ Maxx or Marshalls and buy a designer purse for $39.99. It's a real leather purse, and not do that. But yeah, I definitely like nice stuff. Ah, my camera's falling, my light.
Oh,
But I
no.
but I but
We love it.
I won't do it. Like probably when I go out on vacation, and sometimes even when you go to the store, you become a little bit reckless, and then I'm like, hey, these last 2 days you become reckless. Take control of yourself.
Right. Take control now.
I mean, you always preach, but it's hard sometimes to follow what you preach. We try to do the best we can and to educate everybody and educate ourselves as well.
Right. But at the end of the day, life is life.
Life is life. Yeah,
Life
exactly.
is
We
life.
also got to enjoy life because, we're here one day and we don't know the next day,
That's an
unfortunately.
absolute fact.
Yep.
DJ Bruce Wayne said that you're Sarah Connor from Terminator.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you. I like that one.
All right. Now we down to the last question. It's the
All right.
hardest question of all.
Woo.
What is your social medias and where can the viewers reach you?
Okay. So I have an Instagram, um, credit connector. That's the only social media that I have right now. And I do have my school platform that you guys can subscribe. Like I said, if you watch my video, I always put it in the subscription. And my goal for that school is for us to grow it, to start dropping our data points in there, and basically to learn from one another. And basically, like now I'm creating all the templates how you guys can go out there and fix your own credit. I want to try to give all the information that I can for free. You know, I would love to be able to make money organically, one way or the other. So yeah, those are the two in my YouTube. So it's Credit Connect y Conecto de Crédito in Spanish.
That's fire. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Jackie Lavielle. You got
God,
any last words for us?
I just want to tell you, thank you for everybody that put, I see the chat for everybody that came on. And, thank you for having me and for inviting me. I know when you first sent me a message, I wasn't sure if it was somebody real or not. And then, I was like, okay, I found your channel. And I'm
Sure.
just really appreciate it. And, if you guys can subscribe to my channel, my YouTube channel, and just even if you don't watch the video, let it play. I'm like 400 hours away from being monetized. And that
For
would really
sure.
help you guys.
Hey, we gotta run Jackie up, y'all. We gotta run it up. We gotta get this done in a week or so. Yeah, we gotta get this done in a week or so.
And anything you guys, if you guys send me a DM through my school, I always contact you. And if I don't know the information, I have several people that know a lot more than me on credit. And I always ask them, hey, what do you think of this? Or how can we help this person? Or, what is the best lender right now if you need to consolidate? So I always, if I don't know the information, I'll go out there and look for it as well. Thank you.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna say the same thing I say on every video. I gotta give a shout out to my boy Chad Money Minutes. Chad, Chad is a great creator, and I gotta give a shout out for him. I gotta give a shout out for Joe Barreto who was here. Chad Money Minutes, Rob from Points Blank Travel, and any other creators that I missed that joined the chat. But like I said, I always say if you've been here for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and half an hour, or the entire time, man, we appreciate you coming out and salute to y'all.
Thank you.